Hi again. I just got home from work a while ago and I'm getting kind of tired, but I gotta tell you the ending of this and bring you to the cliffhanger of the matter, the, the crust of the matter here. So, we're gonna go back 2016, November, day after Thanksgiving, and I just had an incredible operation that kind of went out of whack because they done fucked up and they put the clamp on way too hard and it injured some of my nerves. Now, Francis, wonderful, analytical, sexy man he is, he did some research and all of this while we're engulfed in a hive. You know, hospitals in America, medical industry, it's kind of like a beehive. But if you don't keep on your toes with this stuff, it can oftentimes turn into a hornet's nest, okay? So, Francis, okay, one of the jokes is let me be frank when he's talking to people, okay? He's running around doing research, he's looking up stuff on the internet, going to the library, talking to other people who have knowledge about this issue, and he's learning as he goes. He figures out that the type of clamp that they put to keep the blood flow and everything during the whole surgery was a lower grade C clamp when they have two other better clamps. So it's another form of cutting costs and everything, and it's quite common. And he actually found a presentation by some top neurological surgeons in the world from some medical science magazine advising that this is a bad thing to do, and how it affects other people, not just having to do with legs, but arms or whatever. It can affect the head, and so on and so on. And so, behind the scenes, while I'm at the hospital doing physical therapy with this wonderful, I want to say, sexy chick, she was hot as hell. But then I'm thinking in my mind, look at me. I look like hell in the dressing gown, and my hair's all frizzly dizzly. I look like the chick probably from the movie The Ring, okay? But she's teaching me how to walk up and down the stairs, up and down the halls. We're doing all kinds of exercises together because I want to get my leg moving. And at the same time, we're going to different places, you know, around the building and having to schedule appointments with people. But everything is just booked, you know, everything. And so we're having to, like my neurological appointment, the closest I could get it, the soonest I could get it in was a month out, okay? And I'm thinking, oh, holy crap. And I call the fearless leader, let him know what's going on. Everything's screwed up. But I'm going to work on this because I want to walk again. And then another part of my mind is saying, oh God, what if this is permanent damage? And I'm thinking, plan B, plan B. What do? I don't have any family. I don't have people I can depend on if anything goes down. And I want to be economically independent. I'm thinking the end game. You know, I'm going to be 45 coming up in January, and I want to survive. I want my retirement. I want to be comfortable when I'm an old lady, 20, 30 years from now. And I want to have my health. This was a whole game change in my life. And so, you got to keep on keeping on. Grandma once told me that when the milk starts to turn sour, you can make a cake. Or if anything, you can make some quick bread out of it. Make use of it, make it into something wonderful. So, we get all prepared. I'm there for a week. I get out. It's cold as hell outside. That winter of 2016 was dry, which is very rare over here. Usually it's rainy and kind of yucky, drizzly, or there'll be some snow, a little bit of snow. If a snowflake hits the ground in Seattle, they shut the whole damn city down. And then it rains. And then people quit panicking. But this was cold with no humidity, no precipitation at all. And so it was really painful for my body. And I'm scared to death. I'm thinking, oh God, what am I going to do when I get home? I have to learn how to shower by myself. I have to learn how to do physical therapy in the house, this and that, yada, yada, yada. And then the real scary part is learning to get dressed normally and walk with a walker and go out and work the leg. I have to work it. And I look back in my life and look back on what my dad went through. He married my mom, when he was a paraplegic. They fell for each other. They fell in love, hook, line, and sinker, and he adopted my sister. She was 4 years old, and he sired 3 more children. They had a family, And I remember when I was little, he would do physical therapy. We would go to the hot springs in a part of Oregon called Canada, or we would go swimming often as a family, and he'd swim, and that's how he kept his legs going. But another story down the road I can tell you is how he quit on his physical therapy. He kept working. He hardly ever called in sick, and he was very efficient, brought home the bacon and all that kind of stuff. But I'm thinking, am I going to fall down the pit that he fell in, where he quit wanting, to have his get up and go and stay more physically fit and be positive about his body despite all his challenges. And part of my mind is saying too, what if my leg doesn't come back? What do I do? Well, that's another thing about having a steady job with union protection where I can stand on my own 2 feet. I'm thinking plan B, I can go back to school, get some training, transfer into the pharmacy, and I might take a little bit of a pay cut, but I'll still have my retirement, still have my health care, still have all my benefits, the dental, the works, kaboom. Okay, because I got to survive. And at the same time, I'm reaching out and communicating to my daughter, and very proud of her, and telling her, the situation and everything. So I healed. I'll tell you how. I worked it. I wanted to be back in the saddle. I wanted to be like this here, okay? I wanted to be like this here. My first day out walking with a walker, It took me almost 3 hours and freezing cold out. I put on my best exercise clothes. I did my hair, my best runners. And I'm out. It's terribly cold, freezing my ass off. And I'm moving so slow. And it was so challenging. And I'm alone because I don't want anybody to see me, okay? But it was really funny because I'm like 2 blocks down, okay, headed toward this area of the suburbs, beautiful houses and stuff. I'm in an apartment that feels like a house. It's got a yard and everything. But I'm going, and from behind me comes another hot blonde, okay? And I'm just like, damn, she looks like Jewel. And she's jogging, and she comes alongside me and starts jogging in place, just kind of, looking at me. I look at her, and she's like, thumbs up, without saying anything, and then she keeps jogging, and I'm like, fucking hell, okay, this is it. I keep going. So, every damn day, throughout the day, in shifts, I'm doing all the physical therapy I can do. I have all my appointments set up. It was a fight with HR and the hospital and everything else. I also qualified for another type, I'm trying to remember, of physical therapy that's even more special. It's like a workers thing, but usually they don't grant it unless you get injured on the job. But I put my foot down. And at the same time, made an appointment, got in with the OBGYN, discovered the miracle of estrogen, and discovered that I'm losing my progesterone. I'm also going to lose any testosterone. Yes, women have some testosterone. And the funny thing about it is, too, about that, because we need it, like men, okay, not as much, but we do produce it. We do kind of need it, is the United States, it's illegal for women to be prescribed testosterone. Can you get that? In the UK and other countries, they can get it, but not here. So I'm like, okay, I'll turn back into my little girl again. Okay, so, and estrogen is awesome because in my type of menopause, usually for women, it's kind of gradual. You're kind of stepping into the pool one step at a time, just steady as it goes, okay? With me, it was like somebody picked me up and just threw me in the water. They just dumped me in the pool. And so it was all at once. And so I started taking supplements again, which I've taken before, like St. John's wort, and just kept up on the physical therapy. That way I wouldn't feel depressed. And the end game was to get back to work, and I visited work. Pretty soon I graduated down to a cane, and I was able to commute on the bus, which I usually do, and run errands and stuff, just small things. 'Cause Francis, he has his own life. We each have our own space. And that's one of the wonderful things in our relationship. And I really wanted to have some independence. Although he would always volunteer. He's like, do you need to, go food shopping? What do you need? Do you need to go to the library? Or you have an appointment on this day. Let me go with you so I can take notes. Now, we went to the assistant surgeon, not the real surgeon, but the assistant, and she really pissed off Francis. She tried to convince me in front of him, while he's got a whole briefcase of information and notes that he has taken and outlined everything with dates and receipts. And she's trying to convince me that it was Jupiter that caused the problem with my left leg. And he's like, wait a minute. And he has all this information about the type of clamp that was used. And she's young, but she's educated. You know, she's a doctor. And for somebody with a higher degree to be questioned and kind of put in a corner like that, she became like a nervous animal. And her jaw just fell when he's using all these scientific technical terms and also using the scientific method. He wasn't doing it in a way to degrade her. He let her speak first, but then he kind of brought up some points, okay? And questions of every little angle. And I don't think in this medical world we live in, especially in the US, that they're used to dealing when these professionals are used to being questioned. They want to tell you something and send you on your merry way. And then also, I think they were really afraid that I was going to complain, that they screwed up royally. So they also offer me a counselor, which is free at the regular hospital where my family doctor, my regular doctor, is. And he's a great guy. He has a student with him to kind of follow him along, and, you know, pretty soon they're going to do something similar to what he's doing, like an internship kind of thing. And he wants me to file a complaint about the whole spiel. I looked at him and I'm like, hell no. What good is that going to do at all? You know, this chick, she was, you know, an ugly person. She was, I don't know what was her problem, but it's not her fault. It's the fault of the top. And if I make one little complaint, what are they going to do? You know? And I said, between you and I, sir, I think the other nurses around her and that tech probably already put their foot down for me. And I'm going to get through this. There's no other way. I have no other choice. So gradually, it took a little over 2 months, and I came back to work light duty, and that was okay, you know. I did my job, and then eventually by February, the end of February, I come back full duty, full time, back on my shift. And I did it. And I'll tell you, the miracle of science. I couldn't even imagine what it was like for women 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 500 years ago, to deal with this kind of thing, because to this day they don't know what causes these things. They haven't done enough research. It's a shadow. It's such a taboo about the health of the female. You know, you just don't go there. But I made it. And another thing too, that's when I wanted to start writing down little stories and memoirs and pushing that forward, because you only live life once. And you got to do the best you can with it. And I was totally convinced that I was going to turn this into something as positive as I could. And then continue and continue to go beyond the plateau for the rest of my life to stay healthy. It's not perfect, okay? But it could have been a lot worse. And then another thing, reflecting on that bitch of a lady, and if I ever see her, I don't know what I'm going to say. I'll probably offer her a hug, you know? But about 10 to 15 years prior to that, I was headed down her road. I could see the poison that was in her, in me. When I want to be this instead. So that's pretty much the story. And so I depend on doing this, okay? This is a great tool. This helps with muscle tension and spasms. About a year ago, I suffered a shin splint. I didn't realize I was putting more weight on my other leg, so I was a little bit loppy, and it caused sciatic nerve pain and a total shin splint, which is like the worst pain in the world. But I got through that too, and by then I had a better store director. And by the way, the original store director, with all those problems back in the past and the little tiffs and little battles at work, he told me one day when I came back after my surgery, when I was back full, he said, you know, you're my nemesis, but I respect you. And that's all I needed to know. So I hope you like this story, and remember to ring the bell.